So reviewing our agenda for the next 55 minutes or so that we have together. Again, we're going to introduce your local partners. We're going to talk about what IBM Netezza is in a general sense, and then why you might consider Netezza as an enhancement to your current environment. We're going to review some successes that with current Netezza implementations and how they got there. And then we're going to offer a Netezza proposal model from Sycomp and Brightlight, and just go over that base model to hopefully start a further customization within further discussions. And then the final part, we'll have about hopefully 15 minutes for Q&A, where we can ask the panel of speakers here any kind of one-off questions or direct questions we may not have reviewed. So to start off with the introductions of your local partners at a high level, we have both Sycomp and Brightlight presenting today along with IBM. Sycomp is actually a leading provider of IT solutions through IBM. We've got over about 150 customers, and because of that and our loyalty to IBM, we are a premier business partner and have been so for some time. Our headquarters is in Foster City, California, near San Mateo, but we have other offices nationally and globally, and along with customers everywhere as well. We were founded in 1994. Brightlight are one of our big partners and IBM's partners for the services and implementation aspects of business analytics. They are a national leader in delivering the Netezza solutions and have had many, as you can see, 50-plus Netezza customers over the course of the Netezza lifespan, which is about 8 years. They're in Redmond, Washington, right outside Seattle, and they're 100% focused on the business intelligence data warehouse solutions, and that's their specialty. So we work with them for those on-site services as needed, and as does IBM as well.
Thank you, Lauren, and good. I guess it's going to be good afternoon for everyone on the phone now. What I'd like to do today is just give you a quick look at the IBM technology that all combines into an integrated stack for data warehousing and data management. And I don't plan to go through this whole slide in detail, but I wanted to position where Netezza fits. And then David will come on and talk a little bit more about what Netezza is and some of the things that it's used for. So looking at this diagram, we fundamentally have a product line within IBM that handles everything from taking data from sources to feeding analytic engines or actually doing the analytics ourselves. So you can see in the middle of the picture is where we have the warehousing block, and this is where Netezza itself fits. Now, Netezza is a warehousing device. It is not an OLTP device. It does not handle small queries. Its real function in life is to be able to take large amounts of data, turn it into something that's easily processable, and provide very quick answers to BI-type queries. And those queries can come either just as straight SQL to the warehouse within the Netezza, or they can be coming from analytics tools that actually either are sending the queries or actually pushing down some of their functions into Netezza, in other words, bringing the analytics to the data. So you find that Netezza is more than just a database engine. It's also an analytics engine, and it can do an awful lot of the analytics work that you need to have done. There's a variety of other products around the center square, if you will, and these are products that allow you to get and prepare data, to update data on a regular basis, to clean data, and then to actually analyze the data. But without going into further detail on that, then I'd like to turn this over to David Overcash, who is the the Chief Technical Officer for Bright Light Consulting, and have him talk a little bit more about what Netezza is, and then talk about the use cases and also about what Bright Light can do in helping you to implement Netezza within your organization.
Great. Thanks so much, Dan. So let's take a little bit deeper dive into that center circle as Dan showed on his diagram of what is Netezza. So the best way to think about Netezza, it is a self-contained appliance. Many folks are calling this, you'll even hear folks like Gartner claim a data warehouse appliance as an individual space itself. But really what that is, it's a self-contained device with the database, the server, and the storage all in one configuration. And as Dan mentioned, it is highly optimized for analytical processing. So definitely not a device that you want to run your OLTP apps on. The benefit of this appliance technology is really about performance, simplicity, and the total cost of ownership. So in the performance category, we've definitely seen, and we'll talk about some of the case studies of clients across industries getting 10 to 50 times faster performance. And that performance is not only with query performance of your reporting tools, your data mining tools, but it's also of your data processing. So if you're looking to go to real-time ELT, or your batch windows are getting really tight, you'll also see performance gains on that side of the house. The Netezza appliance is fully ANSI SQL compliant. So your standard SQL statements that you're writing in your applications today will run natively as they currently are, with a few minor exceptions for custom extensions that certain vendors may put in. So with that, again, via OLDB connections, ODBC connections, JDBC connections, Netezza will hook in with any existing platform. That includes all of the different Microsoft products, so SSI, SAS, RS, etc. Clearly, with IBM's acquisition, you're going to have great tight integration with the IBM stack of products. But it will work in numerous customers with quite the hybrid approach to their solution. So now let's take a further step back and say, why did Netezza come about? Why have they been so successful in the market? Why did IBM look at acquiring them? And I really think it comes back to looking at there's really a new world of business intelligence and data warehousing that has been emerging for a couple years, but really coming at the forefront. So when we think the new world of business intelligence, we're thinking things that dealing with unstructured data, big data as it's being called, dealing with mobile data. We're talking about systems that need to be significantly more flexible and dynamic, and systems that can scale. I think the ideal scenario of what business intelligence really should be is being able to provide information to your organization across, up and down, and taking that piece of information and being able to ask another question or make a decision. And the needs that creates, again, is you need to be much more flexible to add new data sets, or how is your organization even going to change now that you have new insight? And the performance and simplicity, and we'll talk about simplicity here in more detail in a second, but the performance gains you give, you're really putting a paradigm shift in the middle of your overall business intelligence and data warehousing solution. Really the middle of that diagram that Dan showed us. And thus, many of the other things around that, the technologies and the processes that you use, will start to change to really enable this new world. So let's look further at 4 key areas of where Netezza can simplify the overall solution, and specifically really to SQL Server environments, but many of these points apply across your traditional transactional database platform versus the highly optimized Netezza analytical platform. So first off, with the performance that we can get out of Netezza and the capacity, we're able to enable significant data growth in the platform. So whether it's adding storage, adding server, adding processing, compute power, the ability to upgrade those environments to scale at large levels. And the beauty is, and Lauren will talk about this when we wrap up today, is that the price points of Netezza are not the multi-million-dollar price points that the industry may think are out there with some of the other vendors. This is really cost competitive to mid-market, smaller organizations, but gives them a platform that can scale unlimitedly for any of the needs that they would have. So not only optimize today's solution, but provide a scalable platform for everything that you'll need tomorrow. So again, we talked about, so we have a platform here that can expand for your data growth volume simply. We can increase performance, and again, whether it be your data mining, predictive modeling, just your dashboards, your scorecards, your reporting, 10, 50, 100x performance gains, as well as taking ETL processes from 8 to 12 hours where you're blowing out your nightly windows to taking those to 1 to 2 hours, or being able to implement real-time data feeds into your environment. Now, with all of these things, we also get the added benefit of reducing maintenance costs. So one of the key things, because Netezza is an analytical platform, a platform built for analytics, that you get away with having to configure your RAID configurations on your storage and allocating more SAN space and constantly figuring out, well, what version of Windows or what versions of Unix or Linux and what version is my storage and what version is my database platform and when do I upgrade one of those. All of that goes out the window. No more. You don't need to deal with it. So the whole role of a database administrator, of the operational support, is drastically reduced. And I'll give some examples of where we've seen clients do that. But even in some of Netezza's largest customers across the globe, that we're seeing those environments be supported by about 25% of a DBA. So the thing that you get with having less things to worry about on the box from a DBA and operations perspective, we're able to enable significant data growth. We're able to increase our performance. And what you get out of those three items is the ability to increase the BI functionality and throughput in your overall solution. So again, we'll talk about clients that are able to double their throughput based on being able to prototype data volumes faster, for not having to have long wait times to add storage to the solution. We're able to test on full data sets because now we have the capacity to do that. All of these things increase the BI throughput, which is really what I think the end goal of business intelligence deployment is about, is how can we get more functionality to the business? How can we keep up with the pace of what their demands are today? So let's go into a couple case studies to talk about some of these things from a real world perspective. So the first organization to talk about is a small but rapidly growing, we'll call them a niche e-business company. And this company was seeing tremendous growth and success, but as they were bringing new products and offerings to the market, they didn't have good insight to what was working and why was it working, and what things were we doing to affect growth, and what new offerings should we put on the market, and really understanding that customer acquisition, retention, where there was churn, why was there churn. And one of the ways that the business felt they could do this is by adding additional data sets, whether that be outside data sets, collecting more history of internal data sets. And what was happening in that process is that over time, and they were on the Microsoft platform from day one is it grew and grew and grew and got to the point that they had over 12 people that were just maintaining the solution without adding any new functionality. Their CIO actually came down in this case and was challenging his team. How can we reduce this and change this ratio so I have more people developing more applications and less people maintaining the solution? So they went out and they purchased an Netezza box, and we assisted them in migrating and repointing all of their SSIS ETL to Netezza. And they were actually able to repurpose these 12 operational maintenance resources to adding new applications. So they were able to start to meet the demand of their business. They were able to onboard additional data sets, and they drastically increased the performance in the process of doing this. In fact, this company came back with within a year and a half and bought an additional box to continue to add to what they were doing. And really the CEO of the company really felt that they had became a real data-driven organization now that they had removed the bottlenecks that had been holding them back for so long. So let's take a look at another company. Again, this company was a relatively small but growing organization. They were a gaming company that had an online presence as well as an offline presence. And they needed to understand what games were selling, what people were, how long were they playing those games, were they buying other games, what were the cross-sell, upsell opportunities, how could they expand their market, how were their marketing campaigns working, were they spending their dollars wisely? And they wanted to scale out and pull in larger data sets. They were talking about pulling in in-game data. And with a fast-growing organization, the time to deploy new functionality to keep up with everything, all the new offerings the business was deploying, they couldn't keep up with their existing solution. So this company decided to go on a pretty lengthy assessment process to look at what they were doing and look at what their options were. And after a lot of due diligence, they brought in one of the entry point Netezza appliances, and again took all of their existing SSIS code and repointed that to Netezza. They had business objects as their reporting tool and repointed that towards Netezza, and they were able over a year and a half now or so keep a small core team of about 3 or 4 resources to develop new applications as well as maintain their existing applications. And so the ability to keep a very small core team but yet have enterprise class solution on this platform has been a huge, huge ROI for them. And so now they are adding on new data sets. They are growing the system rapidly. They're able to say yes to their business and deploying new BI capability. We were able to migrate their entire platform in only 6 weeks. So then they were able to launch with a lot of new best practices within that. One of the other interesting things for this organization as they were growing is they needed to start to be concerned about their auditing capability as an organization, as they were just maturing overall. And with some of the things that they were doing with their BI capability, with understanding product uses, understanding some financial data, as well as they had to up their SOX compliance, if you will. There's actually several layers they had to go through before that. And they were then able to focus many of their resources as well is making the whole solution enterprise class robustness across the board. And it was very huge for their overall IT success. And simplifying the overall solution, what the resources were spending time on, was a big win for them. So let's take a look at a different industry now. This is a more traditional, conservative industry to give a different perspective, and this is with a regional healthcare provider. This is more on the provider side, and as we all know, what's going on in the economy and the market today is a lot of focus on healthcare and what's happening in healthcare. And for them, they were getting a lot of new demands from across the business to understand what was happening within their hospital and doctor provider network, and understanding what services they were providing. Were those changing over time? What was the type of care that they were providing? Has that changed in time? Where people that were coming in for certain operations, were they staying at the hospital longer than they were previously? Well, one of the things in the healthcare industry is the number of disparate source systems that had to be integrated to get that type of insight is pretty significant. And then they were also facing, what do we do in the next couple years with automated medical records? And so while the challenges today were more about complexity of source systems, they knew that the challenges of tomorrow would be about large data volumes with AMR. They were additionally looking at being able to bring in a lot more third-party data, whether it be demographics or comparing themselves to other hospitals. So they really wanted to step back and say, how can we improve our capability to deploy BI to the business today, but how do we make sure that we have a platform that's going to be flexible for us for tomorrow and also be scalable for the big data issues that we see coming in the next couple of years. So some of the challenges that they were facing, they have this big opportunity that the business is demanding more and more from them, but they also had technical challenges with our current environment. A similar scenario that we see over and over again with deploying this new world of BI on traditional technologies. More and more of their resources were spent maintaining the existing solutions and just making minor tweaks when the source systems change. And the amount of server infrastructure that they have in place and leveraging shared SAN space, and how do we get access to that SAN space when we need it for the BI team, and that gets in a large IT funnel of requests. And as many of these companies experience, they would go out and every year they would upgrade their servers, and they'd be spending, $20,000, $50,000, maybe $100,000 on upgrading server, new memory, faster processing power, more storage. Those would, and many times, take weeks to even months to get those requests in, to get the new servers, the changes in their data centers, which was creating, again, further legs for them to deploy BI capabilities. So they were definitely facing a lot of these challenges. So they did a pretty extensive evaluation of the market. They did an extensive evaluation of what their skill sets were internally, of how they could change their SDLC to take advantage of some new technology, and looked at purchasing then again, one of these Netezza 1003 entry point servers. They're actually going to move off of their SSIS deployment to a data integration framework that Brightlight has to help with some real-time data integration needs. So this company, being a conservative healthcare company, probably did one of the most extensive ROI calculations that I've seen in quite some time. And going through that, they had over 30 servers in their existing BI infrastructure. And just in the first 6 months, in the first deployment, first and second deployment, they're going to be able to decrease and give back IT 14 servers out of their BI environment. That includes production servers, development servers, test servers, etc. Also, with the purchase of Netezza, they're going to completely remove the reliance on the IT infrastructure teams. So bottlenecks of tracking I/O between all of the servers, allocating more storage space as needed, and the yearly reliance for their server upgrades will go out the window with the Netezza solution. They, again, as we've seen with a couple of these other examples, is their team that was doing operational support and maintenance will now be moved over to do new deployment of BI capability. So they'll go down to about 10 hours a week of a DBA to maintain the solution. Additionally, so we gained additional resources, they gained additional resources back to deploy new applications. Additionally, spent a lot of time with this organization to fine-tune what their SDLC process was. And I'll talk about some of those things in a second. But we were able to double the number of BI projects completed over a year timeline. So again, significant ROI there. So one of the other things in talking about an SDLC difference because of the performance with Netezza, we are able to prototype on new data sets very, very fast. We can load almost a terabyte of data an hour on the environment. So again, we can load a couple hundred gig in a matter of minutes. So we're able to take new data sources in very quickly and prototype, do data mining and data profiling of new data for the BI environment. And then we're able to have more conversations with the business about the BI capability that they're looking to deploy. So these were some of the factors that they changed some of the thinking of how they could roll out new solutions. One of the other things with Netezza is the ability to change schema on even very large data sets is instantaneous. So if your source systems are changing, you need to add additional columns and fields. It's very easy to change your data model. One of the things we've seen on traditional transactional technology is that you get your large fact tables or large dimensions, and changing that schema can be very, very painful. It can bring your BI system down for days. Seen many clients where that's not even capable, so they end up having to just add to their schema, and over time they get a schema that looks more like spaghetti than a good dimensional model. So it's one of the other added benefits to Netezza, and we're able to eliminate JAD sessions to talk about what our data model should look like, because we will never be able to change it because of traditional technology limitations. So again, some of the other benefits that we see. So let's move on and let's talk about a fourth customer here. So this is Kelley Blue Book. Kelley Blue Book was actually a customer referred to in some of the invites for this webinar. And Kelley Blue Book is a great referenceable customer for IBM and Brightlight. And there's some great YouTube videos out there for Kelley Blue Book, some case studies out there that I know we can any of us, Sycomp or myself, can provide you links to that information. But here's another great example of how Netezza's really changed that center of their BI solution and changed the way they look at business intelligence, how they use business intelligence in their organization, and how they're able to grow their business effectively, and how they're able to do that on true insightful information versus gut feel. And again, this was a company that was using parts of the Microsoft stack as well as other additional technology for their overall solution. And so I think one of the other keys for companies like Kelley Blue Book is, and across all of these examples, is we've seen Netezza remove many of the key technology bottlenecks by combining the database, server, and storage. By removing those technology limitations, we're able to reduce our maintenance costs, operational costs, and we're able to put those resources now onto deploying new solutions. And at the end of the day, with all of these companies and many others, is that they're able to provide more insight for their business and grow their business in new areas, make better decisions, cut costs where needed based on true information. So we would certainly be happy, and I know part of our Q&A session is to dive deeper on any of these case studies as well as others. Could certainly do follow-on discussions as Lauren will talk about, but hopefully gives you a good sampling of what we've seen. Even small to mid-market companies take advantage of the Netezza appliance. Something that 4 and 5 years ago, even in Netezza's early days, wasn't always available for all industries and all markets, and is today, and providing unbelievable solutions. So I'd like to turn it back over to Lauren now, and we'll provide you some other information. Thank you.
Thank you so much, David. What I'm going to talk about next, too, as David's been great with some of the real experiences and what the customers have seen, is what you could possibly see moving forward as far as our proposal model. That's the next slide here, is as we've discussed with some of the entry models as an IBM Netezza 1003, it's about a quarter rack system, scales up to about 8 terabytes, so it can stick with you for a long time as well. And it includes a 1-year IBM support service contract as well. And then bundling that together with some of these bright light services that they've explained in the reference of, again, through our experiences, about a 6 to 8 week engagement, and 3 months DBA support moving forward as they can handhold you along the entire way. This all being as a package deal, and one of the reasons that we wanted to talk about it in 2012 as well is that as of 2012, IBM has announced some fair market value leasing for appliances like Netezza, which previously were unavailable. So this means a lot for you as a customer in that we can lease something like this proposal here over 36 months for as low as $7,300 a month, including the services from Brightlight, again, hand-holding from soup to nuts, the hardware and software in the appliance, and then the additional IBM support for that year. So, of course, this is representative, and actual numbers would be dependent on a lot of factors. But that's just something to think about. And right now, also, IBM is offering, as of the beginning of this year, 0% interest for a one-year loan, so with approved applications for that. So now is the time to really invest in something that can scale and develop with you over time with these little upfront costs and therefore a large ROI, as David has been explaining, with repurposing other servers, storage, and bringing it all together. IGF, or IBM Global Financing, has often offered better rates than most banks. So that's kind of where we usually work through a lot of our proposals for those offerings. And a Sycomp representative can help you with an IGF discussion once we get a final price of the configuration agreed upon and a customized proposal. So that being said, what we would suggest is for the next step is contacting your Sycomp representative or using our basic contact information here. And finally, also, as we will be coming up is a survey, which we're requesting for a follow-up, and you'll get your Starbucks gift with it completed, so you have to put that mailing address in there. But just to summarize what we discussed today, just with this IBM Netezza technology, seeing your total cost of ownership with these lower prices than we've ever seen before, being able to scale with you, simplify your environment, enhance performance, as we said, 10 to 100 times better, and including that throughput that comes within the enhancements of using the appliance box and its patented technology. So moving forward, as we stated, we've got about probably 15 minutes left here for question and answer. I'll just leave this slide up, and we'll also be sending these links as a follow-up in order to make them more clickable. But these are ways you can look up further information. But of course, you can contact myself or Sycomp in general for your next follow-up detail. I guess at this time, we'll start with some Q&A that we gathered in the chat questions. And we'll start with those couple questions here, and then we can go to any live questions. And to unmute your line, you can push *7 if you push *6 at the beginning. But we'll start with, looks like 3 questions that were in the chat. The first one being, can you get extended IBM support into your initial purchase, like a 2 or 3 year support contract? And I mean, I can answer that. It's yes, you can, and so we can configure that within a customized proposal. I don't know if anyone else has anything else they wanted to say about that. Okay, and next question is there a proof of concept program for the technology? I know David mentioned in a few of the slides and references that people had assessments on technology. So we have had a large success rate in our POCs for Netezza over the length of its life. So we can take applications to get a POC into your environment. We also would say, though, that there's a wealth of references, knowing that Netezza's been around for about 8 years, and we can connect you with those within your industry, and we can have that direct conversation, as we discussed, to maybe have similar environments and review the success rate that way. It can be a little faster of a process as well. That would be my answer to that question. And finally, there's another question here that says, does Brightlight offer services beyond the installation or later down the line through the data warehouse is used? And I can pass this over to David, but if you wanted to address that more in detail.
Yeah, thanks, Lauren. So certainly as a consulting company, we're 100% focused on business intelligence and data warehousing solutions. So we have a wide variety of solutions that we can offer our customers. We're very flexible with how we engage. It's more as long as it's work in this space, we're very, very flexible. One of the things for our mid-market clients that We can offer quarterly health checks. We do offer remote DBAs, so we have a team of DBAs that support multiple clients. So we can, we can provide that 10 hours a week of DBA support to you. And these would certainly be things that we could discuss and customize to your needs to help you get started, and then do a good knowledge transfer over to your folks and get you off and running and successful.
Great. And then if we had any other live questions, if anyone just wanted to, they could unmute their line, and we'd be happy to take those here. We've got about a little over 10 minutes left. And while we can wait for anyone to open their line, if they're interested in chatting, there's also a survey link within the chat. If you could click on that and take that before you depart, that would also be very helpful for us. And we'll be doing a follow-up email, as I said, with these links to be more clickable that you guys can hold. We'll also have a replay available in a couple days in order to share that internally for your use, or if you wanted to re-listen. We're happy to address anything later on, obviously here at Sycomp or Brightlight or us together. We're all local here to the West Coast, so we can set up meetings and kind of work at your convenience and your pace. Sounds like we answered every question possible, so that's a pretty good presentation. I guess at this point we can, unless anyone had anything else, Brightlight or IBM, I can give everyone that extra 10 minutes or so in their day. Okay. Thank you all so much for joining. Thank you, Brightlight. Thank you, IBM, again, for all of our work here, and we're looking forward to chatting with each of you moving forward.